Okay, Joni, do I have your permission to record?
Absolutely.
What's up, Flexies? Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you may be, or good morning. I mean, we've got people across the world now. So I've got people from England and Japan chiming in. So God only knows, it could be morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever it may be. Good day. How about that, right? And if this is your first time, welcome. You are in for a treat. My name is Chris Eriks. I'm the host of Flex Your Truth. Some people know me as Baby Trump. A couple of things that I want to talk about before I bring our guests up. Number one, if I'm excited, if I'm vibrating, there's so many reasons why, right? God is good all the time, right? And so he's blessed me with not only merchandise, but new merchandise and just a creative way to make shirts. And so I have all the sizes. I was just told by the company, because everything that's been going on with the cargo ships and the trucks and everything like that, that one of my shirts is on back order. So it does not look like I'll have them Saturday. However, you'll be able to order them. Please order them, because I'm telling you, they will not last long. They will not last long, and it's going to be another month or 2 months. Hopefully, by the end of this year, I'll get another order. That's number one. Number two, you can go to flexthetruth.com. That is my website right now. It's on GoDaddy. We are taking that off as we speak. We're going on the Wix platform. We're going to integrate all my videos, say all my videos, not only from the podcast, but the other podcasts that I've been guest on that you guys have not been privy to see. I was just on Dan on the Fringe yesterday. I think we've got over 8,000, 9,000 views on that on Rumble. So something like that, you'll be able to see on my website. The other thing that I'm excited to talk about is this Saturday. Man, if you're in Texas, or if you're in Oklahoma, or if you are in a throws stone away, you do not want to miss the event that I'm going to have here this Saturday, Patriots at Large, where I've been humbled and blessed to be the MC as well as a guest speaker. I have my good friends, Rick Renee from Blessed to Teach. You guys know him. Dr. Brian Artis, who's like really just hitting it out of the ballpark, across the country. I'm so blessed and honored to have him by my side on Saturday. We're going to have vendors. We're going to have food. Come hungry. We're also going to have face painting. We're also going to have miniature horses, things for the kids, bouncy houses, music, positive, uplifting music that you're not going to be able to stand still to. You will be jamming with Jesus with Baby Trump on stage. So that is a great segue. Actually, there's one other thing. October 30th in Wichita, Kansas. I've been asked to speak alongside Lee Valentine, a good friend of mine, who's going to be on my show Friday. Also, my good friend Jim Price, who's actually going to be speaking on Saturday as well. We've really become fond of one another. We have kind of a bromance thing going, Jim Price and I. And he'll MC that as well. Get your tickets. Get your tickets. I think it's 11, 12, 13 in San Antonio for the Reawakened Clay Clark General Flynn Tour. I will be a guest speaker. You will see me on stage speaking. And in Dallas, the following month, December 10th, 11th, 12th, my birthday weekend, come out. I want you to celebrate my birthday in Dallas, my hometown. I mean, man, if God couldn't write the script any better, Joni, huh? And that gives me a segue to Joni. Joni 917, who I asked to be a part of this, I believe it's going to be an epic historical event because of what I'm going to do, but along with her help. And it just goes to show you, for people that say, well, Chris, what can I do? What can I do to help your event? Or what can I do for this movement? There are a lot of things that you can do. And this lady is going to talk about, her organization and what she did to help my event. And that's none other than Joni Bryan from 917. Joni, you there?
I am. It's good to see you. Thank you for having me.
So blessed and humbled. And, we met a couple of times, but, where I really got wind of you was my buddy Scott and Ed Vandersteel. And when we did that roundtable, my buddy Paul Romero in Oregon, and I heard what you were doing with these pocket constitutions. So before we get into that, for the people that don't know about you, shame on you. Number one. Number two, Joni's going to be a household name, and not so much her name, but her organization. Joni, tell the people who you are and what you're about.
Okay, well, I started this project a few years ago. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was working at a retirement community with someone who had been involved in the civil rights movement. He had ran for governor. And one day we were debating a court case, and he pulled out of his pocket a pocket constitution. And he said, "My dear, when is the last time you read your constitution?" And when he said those words to me, I realized, even though I have an education, my degrees in biology and chemistry, actually, and I've always voted, I've always been involved, but I realized in that moment I had never read the Constitution. And I thought, wow, is it just me? So I began asking everybody I knew, and 99 out of 100 citizens have never read the Constitution. So I thought, we have a problem. So I spent my early years as a social worker in rural Alabama, if you can't tell by my accent.
And, no, not at all. No accent there.
Yeah. And so I always taught my children, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of what?
The problem.
The problem. And I was looking in the mirror saying, I'm part of a problem. How do we fix it? What can we do to make sure that our citizens read and understand the Constitution? And that's when I learned about the federal mandate. In 2004, there was a mandate passed that all schools that get federal funds are to have a program on the Constitution on or around September 17th. Hence our name, the 917 Society. We honor and celebrate Constitution Day. And so I thought, well, what if I'd been married to a public school teacher for years, and I'd been around the kids, all my life, as a chaperone and helping and in my job. And so I thought, wow, what if we offered teachers a free program for Constitution Day so that they could honor and celebrate Constitution Day with their kids? And we chose 8th grade because that's the year that the kids are to study civics and the Constitution in depth. It's part of the U.S. curriculum. So I thought, okay, what if we offered this? So I went to social study teachers conferences across different states, and I asked, if we had this program, would you use it? And overwhelmingly, it was yes. We would love to have something like that. Because our teachers, our public school teachers right now, I know we're getting a lot of negativity out there, but I want to give people hope. Because when I started this project, we gave out in Tennessee, where we started, 25,000 constitutions for Constitution Day in our schools. This last Constitution Day, which was just a few weeks ago, we gave out 1 million constitutions across 16 states.
Stop right there. Stop. Did I got goosebumps. And now that's not the first time I heard that, right, Joni? You've talked about this. You and I had a conversation. Every time she says it, I get goosebumps. You handed out 1 million, right? Austin Powers, 1 million Constitution booklets to the schools.
Across 16 states, including California, Florida, North Dakota, South Dakota. I could name all the states because I've got a lot of that memorized now. But we've been really blessed. We have a lot of volunteers. And when I met you in Tulsa was the first time I met you. We signed up volunteers in Oklahoma. We also got some of the legislators there to get involved. In Tennessee, we're really blessed. Not only do we have the federal mandate, we also have a state mandate that's called Celebrate Freedom Week. So our legislators in Tennessee expanded Constitution Day and made it a whole week where they do programs on the Constitution. and all about our founding documents. And so we're working, we have a 501c4 that we have formed called 917 Action. And that's something we're also working with, is to get legislation in each state, because right now we're just not sure where the federal government's headed. Well, we kind of know, but it's like, we want to make sure that state by state, because the Constitution gives the states more power than we're using. But because we are so beholden to federal money, a lot of states don't use the power they have because of that. And that's why we're in such a mess, is because we're beholden to the federal government for those funds. But really and truly, the states can push back. And I love to see all these states pushing back and saying, no, we're not going to do this, or we're not going to do that. It's right in here. It's right in here. And we can do that. And so it's been real exciting, because we've gotten volunteers from Tulsa when I was there. And so we had volunteers delivered to the schools. And so we're signing up this year in all 50 states, people to volunteer to help deliver. We also have the AMVETS organization, their national organization, is signing up. They've already been helping us in several states, but I spoke at their convention in August, and the AMVETS national organization is going to be helping us state by state to coordinate our efforts. So we're raising money to print and distribute, and then we need boots on the ground to get out there and help deliver. But I want to give everybody encouragement. This summer, when we decided, well, we actually decided last year, but when we started actually getting the emails to all the principals. Now we go straight to the principals because this is a federal mandate. So we don't have to deal, and a lot of people talk about school boards. The principals already know it's part of the U.S. standards. And so we have the federal mandate. We just make them aware of that federal mandate. So we go to the principal. So we send out 8,000 emails to principals. Wow. And I didn't know how it was going to be received. I really didn't know. And so I was so excited that it took me days, and my team, and we're all volunteers, all our team volunteers, but we were having to put orders on mailing labels, just like what I shipped to you. And it took 14 hours a day for several days just to fill the orders, because they were, yes, we would love to have this. This is fantastic. So I want to give people encouragement. Then go to our Facebook page and see some of the pictures of the kids reading the constitutions, because we didn't want to do a digital copy, although we do have one that, you can put on your phone. But what we wanted is to make sure the kids had it in their hand. We want to create a sense of ownership to this document. It's so precious and it's so important. So when the kids get it for Constitution Day, it's special. It's a moment. It's not just a physical thing. It's an emotional thing, a mental thing, and it's tangible. And so the teacher signs and dates it, makes it a really big deal. So years from now, they can look back and see when they were in 8th grade, they got the Constitution. Wow. Very durable cover. It's kind of waterproof, on the cover. And then we have the Declaration, the Constitution, all the amendments. And when anybody starts talking about critical race theory, I say, if you'll just read the Constitution, that is the answer for critical race theory. We already have equality. It's right here. But you got to read it all. You got to read it all. And so then we have all the amendments, the signers, but the last page is really cool. And I was inspired to do this because I had some people I worked with who were going to the federal courthouse to take their oath of citizenship. And I realized I'd never taken an oath. So we created this oath in here. It's the actual oath that they take, and the kids can sign and date it that day when they do their oath of citizenship. So it just creates a memory and a moment where they realize this is their guidebook for citizenship and how important this is, and that their voice matters, that every person's voice matters. It's important, but they've got to have the founding principles. They've got to understand, what the words say. And here's some really cool things, Chris. The kids are asking great questions, because when they get it, of course, the first thing they do is, well, that's really pretty. They like the way it looks. They open it and they start reading. And it piques that curiosity, and they start asking great questions. Questions like, why can't we pray in school? It doesn't say that in here. What's the difference in hate speech and free speech? It says we have free speech. You see, it's going to take this young generation rising up, because I read a survey in July, And it said, and this was an independent research survey, and it said that 1/3 of the millennial generation, I have 2 daughters that are millennials, 1/3 believe communism is a good thing. But when they were asked to define it, they couldn't define it. And so we actually have some great videos. On top of giving the constitutions, we have a resource page that has all kinds of lesson plans, games, videos. We've got a video series. We have a wonderful Abraham Lincoln impersonator, and you can go on our Facebook and see one of the films that he just put out. But we're going to have the Bill of Rights series that the teachers can use in the classroom, with featuring Abraham Lincoln with each one of the first 10 amendments. And then we also have Dr. Ming Wang, who is, he came here, he's a world-renowned eye surgeon in Nashville. He came here to America after surviving the Cultural Revolution, the Communist Cultural Revolution, after all the schools were shut down. He was 13 years old, and they shut down every school, every university. 20 million kids were sentenced to labor camps. And for 3 years, he didn't have any kind of education. And then when the dictator died, they brought schools back in, and he hurried up and graduated in 1 year what it would have taken 4 years to do. He did it in 1 year, and he was able to come to America with $50 and an American Chinese dictionary. And now he's a world-renowned laser surgeon. What if he had had to go to that labor camp and he had had to suffer and die there? We would never have known his gifts and his talents. And that's what America's about. Our gifts, our God-given, our rights are not given by this. Our rights are given by God. Mm-hmm. This protects those rights. It guarantees them. And that's what people need to understand. The government doesn't give us rights. The government works for us. They work for us. And so we tell our government what to do. But because of all this federal funding, federal money, they make people believe they actually have money, just like with this big $1 trillion thing going through. That's our money. That's not their money.
That's right.
And yet they want to go to our bank accounts, and they want to monitor every $600 of our money. But we send them money, and every time you get your paycheck, look at that paycheck and look at that federal tax money going in, and realize they don't want you to tell them how to spend it, but it's your money. Every time that tax money goes in, that is your money. And that's why it's so important but if you don't understand the Constitution, you don't understand that. And that's what we have right now is, and we have people that don't want, Facebook has shut us down on our ads so many times, and we're just teaching Constitution education. And you would not think that would be labeled political speech, but Facebook labels it political. How can this allows us to be political, but you can be Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent, you can be whatever you want to be. You have that right. This is not political. And so that's very upsetting to me that in this environment that we have people trying to make this a political argument. And in and of itself, it is not. It is, the words are the words. They say what they say.
And, again, Flexies, I know you're going to hear this and you're going to hear it again. But all roads lead back to Tulsa. When Joni and I first met, you were in the hallway, right, Joni? I was running around. It was crazy. And I saw her dressed every single day to say, hi, lovely lady, right? I'd walk by every day, right? And, not just being on stage and speaking and dancing and entertaining, but I was in charge of the speakers. But I still sat there and networked with people like Joni. And then, if God would have it, God puts people in your life for a day, a week, a month, a year, a season, right? And God literally was like, hey, dum-dum, literally, hey, dum-dum, you got Joni from Tulsa. And I remember I had your business card because I remember coming through, and I'm like, I never called her. I never even thought about it. And then I saw her again. And then the last time finally with Scott. And then when you were speaking, I had this vision, and I told you this. And as you were speaking, I started getting teary-eyed and emotional, because I believe everything that I'm doing, that we're all doing, right? All the patriots, all the speakers, we're sacrificing a lot. Joni, you're sacrificing a lot, right? But there's a reason that you're sacrificing. I always believe leaders sacrifice to go on, right? You got to give up to go on, right? Right? God, right? Sacrifice his only begotten son, right? You had to give up to go up, right? And hold on for 1 second. This is my ringtone. And if that doesn't wake people up, but you know what it does? It starts a conversation out, right? Because people are like, oh, and then we start talking, what do you do? Da, 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 da. But getting back to Joni, when Joni was speaking at this roundtable discussion of us, I had this vision. And, you know, I have a pocket constitution in front of me that I got from somebody else. I don't want to mention the names. But when you open it up, here's what it doesn't have. It doesn't have the oath of being an American citizen. And so when I saw Joni's and she was like, oh, I have the oath of, you know, you taken to be an American citizen, I was like, oh, how powerful is that? Because here's why. I had Paul Romero's wife on, you know her, right? And she was an immigrant, I believe from Serbia. I could be wrong, or Russia, somewhere around there, right? I think it was Serbia. And anyway, when I brought her on, she literally was in tears because she said she knew quicker than us Americans, what was happening to our country, because she had already experienced it in her homeland. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'm hearing that from so many of my friends who are immigrants. They are so worried. Those that came over here legally are so upset and angry about what's going on because they've lived it. They came here to escape it, just like Dr. Wang. Right. He came here to escape all that, and to see this happening, you know, and a lot of it is just, I hate to say the word ignorance, but it's ignorance of what we have. And that's why what we're doing is crucial. And this younger generation, you know, kids automatically question, you know, they question their parents. So we want these kids questioning their parents. If these parents believe communism is a good thing, we want to give these kids the tool so that they can question, well, wait a minute, why do you think that? This is what we have. This is what this says, you know? So I think it's so important. And that's why we're having the videos about the Bill of Rights that Roger McCalman, our Lincoln, is doing, so that they can understand each one of the amendments that make up our first 10 amendments, which is our Bill of Rights. And then also to show that video. It's a movie called Sight, and it'll be coming out in the spring, and it's going to be amazing. So we'll be able to next year, hopefully be able to share that with all the kids so they can actually see someone their age, because it shows him as a young 13, 14-year-old in China. And to let you know just how China has infiltrated, and if people don't understand, this is not about Democrats and Republicans. This is about communism and the Constitution. Bottom line, because China has infiltrated, and he had a lot of issues with the movie because China has infiltrated Hollywood, big tech, the media. It is all owned a big chunk by China, and they are very, very influential in what can be said and what can't be said. He could not even use the word communism, communist China. He couldn't use Cultural Revolution in the movie. There were certain things that could not be said in that movie because of the Chinese influence. And he's even worried about the backlash from when, if he does, when it does come out, he knows that there's going to be some backlash from it, from his Chinese companies that he has patents all over the world for laser contacts, eye surgery and contacts. And so he knows he's going to have some backlash from those type of things. But he said, our freedom is worth it. So I've been working on this 7 years. He said, we've got to get the word out. We've got to let our people know what we have here. And so I admire his sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice for him. And we all have to sacrifice.
Yeah, I would love to get him on my show, talk about it. And then obviously, you know, when it launches, you know, maybe we could do something where I could launch it right here in Dallas, you know, like I'm doing with Tim Ballard, you know, Sound of Freedom with child trafficking. But getting back to you, Joni, the vision I had was, man, how powerful would it be? Because I remember my pastor talking about years ago, getting to the children. was more important than getting to adults. And I was like, wait a second, he's off his rocker. But he made so much sense because my church was geared for the children. Because he said, like you said, children have questions. Children have a huge influence on their parents, more so than the parents have influence on their children. Let me say that again. Children have more influence on their parents than the parents' influence on their children. And so when I heard you talk about the youth, I was like, how powerful would it be if I brought every child up at that event, every teenager, right? And they recited the oath of being an American citizen, have pictures, have video, and let them all, no matter what age, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what faith, no matter where they're from, right? But if they did that, number one, they would never forget that. Number two, afterwards, I would go and sign it, right? But it would be something that their parents would see, they would see, they'd go to school and talk about it, you know? And so for me, when you talked about that, I got so excited. I was like, I gotta get hold of Joni. I gotta get her out here. And then obviously Joni has another engagement, but she's like, you know what, Chris, let me do this. And I said, what? And she said, I'll donate them. So I think we have like 1,400 of these booklets. And then you gave me something for the adults. Do you want to talk about that as well?
Yeah, I just have a card here that you'll be handing out to the adults to how they can get involved. And something you said is really important. And we're seeing this. We have teachers write us all the time. When we give this to the kids, they will take them home, and their parents. We've had teachers say, can we get more? Because the parents want one. They've never had one before. And so you're so right. The kids influence the parents because the parents want to know, oh, well, where'd you get this? I'd like to have one. And so this card, people can go to our website. It's real easy to find us. It's 917society.org. And of course, 917 stands for September 17th, which is Constitution Day. So hopefully after this podcast, you will always remember September 17th is the day our Constitution was signed into law in 1787. But they can learn about our program, and then they can see how they can get involved with us with the gold card, or they can just go straight to the website. We take donations. We don't take state or federal money because we feel like that goes against the Constitution. When you're sitting here trillions of dollars in debt and our Constitution says we're supposed to have a balanced budget. We also print these in America. We do not print these outside of the U.S. We print them right here in Nashville. And so, we want to stick to our constitutional values. And so anybody can get involved if they want to. They can volunteer in their area. Go to the website, 917society.org. You can donate. $25 sponsors a class for the year. And so, if you want to donate, you can donate as much. If you feel like God has blessed you, you can, share that blessing. We appreciate it. But anything that you do is very appreciated. But volunteering or donating, those are the two big things that we need help with. And we would really appreciate it because we've got to have boots on the ground out there. Once we get the constitutions printed, ready to distribute, we need helpers. And this year we're going to do it by county. That's been working really well. So you can sign up to be like a team captain for your county. And in Texas, we had Conroe County. They got 5,500 constitutions out there. We also had Denton, Texas. They got 12,500 in their school district from volunteers that signed up to get them delivered. So that's how we're getting it out there. And by being local, if you're local to that school, you have more influence than I would here in Nashville. And so you can reach out to that principal. Of course, we do email them, but you can reach out also and let them know, hey, we got a free program for Constitution Day for the kids. And teachers love free things for their kids. And it's really attractive and it's exciting. And the teachers really love it. So I want to give people encouragement, even though we're seeing a lot of negativity right now with all the things a lot of these school boards are doing. Just know that we have great principals, great teachers out there that love our country, that love our Constitution. Because of the influence of big tech, They want us to feel like we're alone. And that's why these connections that we're making, being on podcasts together, being at events, coming to your Saturday event, they're so important because there's a lot more of us than there are of them. And we're seeing that. When you hear all the chants, I won't go into the things that were said, but when you see across states, all these thousands and thousands of people chanting, and there's more of us, and we see that by their ratings. When you look at the ratings for some of these shows and things, they're about bankrupt, a lot of them, because people aren't watching it. So focus on the positive, pray, ask God where you need to be and how you can get involved, because I do believe that we met. It was I'll never forget your shiny shoes, Chris. You had those glittery shoes on. I thought, I want some of those because I like the glitter. I'm a Southern woman. I like the glitter, so God puts people, like you said, in your path, or those of you who are hearing about 9/17 today, it's not by accident. There's a divine plan and everything. And it's going to take everyone who's a patriot to get involved, who cares about the Constitution, who cares about this country, and cares about our kids.
Yes.
We've got to make sure these kids know what we have here. And the only way they're going to know it if they're given the founding principles and the tools to understand what we have in this country. I mean, it clearly says in there that, our rights are God-given.
Yes.
They need to read that.
Yeah.
It's important they read those words.
And I think, children are so stubborn too, because they're kids. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, right? I was stubborn. So, I always had questions. I wanted to know why,
Exactly.
right? And so once people think education is power. It's not, it's knowledge, but it's not just knowledge, because here's why. Go to Uber, get in a Lyft. How many professors of profound colleges are driving Uber or Lyft or rideshare? A lot, right? So because if you say, well, Chris, knowledge is power. No, knowledge is not power. What you do with that knowledge is power. So you giving that book out and for kids to have that, to carry around, I mean, to me, is so powerful. And then they can have discussions amongst themselves and say, hey, look, like you said, why aren't we praying anymore? Why aren't we doing the Pledge of Allegiance anymore?
Absolutely.
And it takes one person or a group of people collectively to just stand up and to be courageous and to make a stand for everybody else. I was sitting here and I was like, man, thank God I'm not in school. Because if I was in school, in a public school like I was, I would stand up every single day and I would pray. And I don't care what the repercussions were. I don't care if I got expelled or whatever. I go to the next school and I would pray. Because here's why. If one person does it and there's a leader, there's more sheep than there are leaders. Right? And it goes again, to go up, you got to give up, you got to sacrifice. And sometimes you got to sacrifice you, but you never sacrifice your ethics, values, and morals. Don't ever sacrifice your ethics, values, and morals. And children having this on them, they'll never forfeit or sacrifice their ethics, their values, or their morals.
Absolutely. And something you said is so important. A lot of people misunderstand about the separation of church and state. There's no such thing. It's not in our Constitution that there's a separation. That came from a court case, but that was not in our Constitution. But it just says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So we are not supposed to be limited in any way in practicing our faith. Of course, we saw last year with the shutdowns and the different things where they tried to come in. And, I heard a statement, I'm not sure who said it, but one of our government officials said, have faith in the government. oh, I'm sorry, no,
No,
we don't have faith in the government.
no.
The government is there to serve the people. The people are sovereign. And I hope people listening will truly understand that. We, the people, are sovereign. The government works for us. We give them the money to administer, to serve us. And
right.
we are getting it backwards. We think the government is there, that we're supposed to serve the government. No, we have God-given rights that are protected in our Constitution, and we have to stand up for their rights. And I know years ago, I think, wasn't it a drug campaign that said, just say no? Well, that's where we're at now. Just say no. And we're seeing that with a lot of groups rising up and saying, no, we're not going to do this. And that's what's going to take. All of us say no. We have our constitutional rights. I used it on an airplane. They kept saying, put your mask on, put your mask on. I just whipped out a Constitution, and she just went on and left me alone. I guess she didn't want to argue with me. No. But, just say no. We have rights. And I think it's so important. And to give those founding principles to our kids. And we have a lot of teachers that they're just as upset as we are with what's happening, with what's being demanded of them. And a lot are quitting, and a lot are leaving, and a lot of people are starting, private schools here in Tennessee. I got an email the other day from someone who they're actually paying the salary of a teacher to teach their kids privately, and they're pooling their money to do that. And they're pooling their money, and it's like a small private school, and they're paying the teacher like $50,000 a year to teach like 10 kids, and they're each paying like $5,000 a year, and I'm like, well, that's one way to do it, but if we all stand up, we won't have to take it that far. We can get our public schools back, but it's going to take everybody standing up. And call your principal, call your social studies teachers and say, what are y'all doing for Constitution Day? We've got a free program. We'd love to get you these free constitutions. And so, get people excited about it. Yeah.
Love it. And that's a great segue. When you talk about putting your faith in government, no, we're going to put our faith in God, and listen, if you're not saved and you want to be saved by the Holy Spirit, just say these words with me and Joni out loud. Lord Jesus, I invite you into my heart, into my soul, into the center of my life. I denounce Satan and everything evil. Thank you so much for giving your only begotten Son to get persecuted and to die on the cross for my sins. Thank you for having such grace and mercy for me. Thank you for wiping away all my sins up until today. It means that, I'm so sorry that I sinned, and thank you for forgiving me and letting me repent my sins to you. Lord, I know I'm a child of God, and I know all my sins are wiped away, and I'm heaven bound. If you just said that, congratulations. You are now made in the image of Christ, and now you are born again. And like Joni said, we don't put our faith in government, we put our faith in God. And Joni,